everyone, if this is your first time on my channel, I'm Mina, and today I'm super excited to share with you one of the most incredible books I've ever read, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book has completely transformed the way I think about habits, personal growth, and achieving goals. Actually, in this video, we are not just going to summarize the book. So what? We're going to dive deep into the key concepts and I'll be sharing my own reflections. Yes, I'll be covering everything from the importance of small habits to the power of changing your identity. If you're ready, let's get started. First, let's talk about one of the biggest ideas in the book, the power of small habits. Now, this is a game changer because we often think we need to make huge changes in our lives to see progress. But James Clear emphasizes that it's the small habits, the little actions we do every day that compounds over time and lead to big results. For example, I used to think that in order to read more, I had to set aside an hour or more every day. But when I started with just 10 minutes a day, it felt so much more doable. And do you know what happened? Over time, I've built a consistent reading habit and I'm reading more than I ever imagined. It's amazing how just a few minutes a day can turn into something much bigger. One of my favorite ideas from the book is habit stacking. This is where you tie a new habit to something you already do regularly. For example, after I brush my teeth every morning, I immediately write down 3 things I'm grateful for. It's such a small addition, but it's turned into a solid habit for me. And the best part? It's super easy to do because I'm already doing something I've been doing for years, brushing my teeth. I think this is key for a lot of people who struggle to start new habits. We often try to add something completely new to our lives, but it's hard to stay consistent. Habit stacking works because it ties new actions to existing ones, making it almost effortless to build new habits over time. Now let's talk about something that really clicked for me, identity-based habits. This idea was a game changer. Instead of focusing on the outcome, like wanting to lose weight or get fit, you focus on who you want to become. James Clear calls this becoming the type of person who does the thing. For me, instead of saying, I want to exercise more, I changed my mindset to, I am someone who enjoys staying active. This simple shift in thinking has helped me stick with working out, even on days I don't feel like it. I'm not just someone trying to exercise, I'm someone who is active. It really changes the way you think about your habits. So if you're struggling to stick to a habit, maybe try this. Instead of focusing on the action itself, try focusing on the type of person you want to be. It makes your habit feel more connected to your identity, and when they align with who you are, they become a natural part of your life. Another concept from Atomic Habits that has stuck with me is the importance of environment. James Clear talks about how our surrounding shapes our behaviors and how making small adjustments to your environment can make a huge difference in forming new habits. For example, when I started to eat healthier, I started by removing junk food from my house. It didn't have to rely on a willpower. I simply made it harder to access unhealthy foods. At the same time, I made healthier options more visible and accessible. These small changes made it so much easier to make better choices without thinking about it. And this is something you can apply to any habit. If you want to read more, put your books in a visible place. If you want to exercise, leave your workout clothes out where you can see them. Changing your environment doesn't mean making huge life changes. It's about setting up your surroundings to support the habits you want to build. So let's talk about how you can start applying some of these ideas in your own life. One of the first things I recommend is the 2-minute rule. This is a simple idea. If something takes less than 2 minutes to do it right away. It helps you stop procrastinating. For instance, if you want to start writing but you're feeling stuck, commit to writing just one sentence. That's all. You'll be surprised at how much easier it becomes to write more once you've started. Another great strategy from the book is habit tracking. Keeping track of your progress, even if it's just a simple check mark on a calendar, can motivate you to keep going. It helps you stay accountable and gives you that visual reminder of how far you've come. I've personally used habit tracking to make sure I stay on track with things like drinking water and exercising. Seeing that progress builds a sense of accomplishment and makes me want to keep going. Now let's dive deep into the chapters of the book. The surprising power of atomic habits. James Clear begins by explaining how small incremental changes, what he calls atomic habits, can lead to massive changes over time. A single small habit may seem significant on its own, but when repeated consistently, it compounds. For example, if you improve by just 1% every day, you'll end up being 37 times better in a year. Clear shares the story of how he used small, consistent actions to recover from a devastating injury. After a serious accident in high school, Clear had to work his way back to playing baseball. This required not just physical therapy, but also mental changes in how he viewed his abilities and the role of small improvements. His recovery wasn't about big dramatic changes, but consistent small efforts that compounded over time. This concept is fundamental to the rest of the book. Small habits can create incredible results when accumulated. This is why it's important to focus on improving your habits, not just the outcomes you want. How your habits shape your identity and vice versa. One of the most powerful ideas in the book is the connection between habits and identity. Instead of focusing solely on the outcome, for example, I want to lose weight, Clear encourages readers to focus on the identity behind the habit. I am someone who takes care of their body. The key message is identity shapes habits and habits shape identity. Clear uses the example of two people offered a cigarette. One person says, "No thanks, I don't smoke," and the other says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The first person is identifying themselves as a non-smoker, which is a more powerful identity than someone who is trying to quit. This distinction in identity is key to long-term success in habit formation. By changing your habits to align with your identity, you're reinforcing that identity and making your habits stronger. Behavior becomes easier when it's linked to who you believe you are. How to build better habits in 4 simple steps. This chapter introduces the 4 laws of behavior change, which form the framework for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. The 4 laws are: make it obvious, cue; make it attractive, craving; make it easy, response; make it satisfying, reward. Each of these laws can be used to either build a new habit or break an old one. Make it obvious. The cue should be clear and easy to notice. Clear explains the concept of habit stacking, where you link a new habit to an existing one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I'll meditate for 1 minute. Make it attractive. The craving is the desire to perform the behavior. Clear suggests making your new habits more appealing by pairing it with something you enjoy. For example, listening to your favorite podcast while exercising. Make it easy. The response is the actual behavior. The goal here is to reduce friction, so the behavior is as simple as possible. For instance, if you want to read more, leave your book on your pillow so you remember to read before bed. Make it satisfying. The reward is what reinforces the habit. Habits are reinforced when there is immediate satisfaction, such as marking off a habit tracker each day. These 4 laws are simple but incredibly effective when you put into practice. The man who didn't look right. Clear shares a powerful story of a man who ignored a small warning sign from his body. This man had a habit of ignoring minor health issues, and his failure to act on small warning signs ultimately led to severe consequences. This story highlights the importance of noticing and addressing small cues as they compound over time and lead to major results. The main lesson from this story is that habits are often formed by ignoring or overlooking small changes. It's crucial to pay attention to these small cues and take action before they lead to negative outcomes. The best way to start a new habit. In this chapter, Clear talks about how to effectively start a new habit. The key idea is to start small. Instead of trying to create a massive change in your life, begin with something small and easy to do. Clear refers to this as the 2-minute rule. Any habit can be started in 2 minutes or less. The goal is not to complete the full habit right away, but to make it so easy that you can't fail to do it. For example, if your goal is to run a marathon, start by running for just 2 minutes each day. Over time, you'll gradually increase the length of your runs as it becomes a habit. This principle emphasizes that the beginning of a habit is the most important part. If you can make the habit easy to start, you're more likely to continue it. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Clear emphasizes the importance of your environment in shaping your habits. Often people think that motivation is what drives behavior, but in reality, your environment has a far greater influence on your habits. For example, if you want to eat healthier, you should keep healthy food visible and easy to access. On the other hand, if you want to stop eating junk food, you should avoid having it in your house. Clear introduces the concept of environment design, where you structure your environment to support the habits you want to build. By making your environment work for you, you make good habits easier and bad habits harder. The secret to self-control. This chapter explores the role of self-control in building habits. Clear argues that self-control is not the key to success in habits. Instead, the best strategy is to design your environment in a way that reduces the temptation to engage in bad habits. If you put your phone in another room while you work, for instance, you're reducing the temptation to check social media. Clear also talks about the importance of reducing friction. If you want to build a habit, make it easy to do. If you want to read more, leave your book on your desk, not on a shelf in another room. By making it easier to start, you're more likely to stick to it. The role of family and friends in shaping your habits. Clear emphasizes the social aspect of habit formation. Our habits are heavily influenced by the people around us. If you surround yourself with people who support your goals and have similar habits, it becomes much easier to stick with good habits. On the flip side, if you associate with people who engage in habits you want to avoid, it becomes harder to resist temptation. The idea is that our social environment shapes our behavior. So to build better habits, find a community that encourages the behaviors you want to develop. The Gold Rule: how to stay motivated in life and work. The Gold Rule is all about finding the right level of challenge. If something is too easy, you'll get bored. If something is too difficult, you'll give up. Clear explains that the sweet spot for motivation is when the task is just difficult enough to keep you engaged, but not so difficult that you feel overwhelmed. Clear suggests tracking your progress and using the small wins as motivation to keep going. This principle applies to all aspects of life, from fitness to learning a new skill. The downside of creating good habits. Clear concludes by addressing a potential problem: the downside of habits. Once you've formed a habit, it can sometimes become automatic and you stop questioning it. This can be good, but it can also mean that you're not optimizing or improving anymore. Habit refinement is key to making sure that you're always growing and evolving. For example, if you formed the habit of working out every day, but your workouts aren't progressing, you may need to adjust your routine to ensure you're still challenging yourself. Walk slowly, but never backward. In this chapter, Clear talks about the importance of consistency over time. The principle behind this chapter is that it's more important to make progress every day, no matter how small, than to try for massive improvements. Even on days when you feel like you aren't achieving much, the key is to keep moving forward in the right direction. Clear introduces the idea that habits don't need to be perfect. They just need to be done regularly. He tells the story of his own experience with baseball after his injury. He didn't expect to become a star player right away, but by simply continuing to show up and do his best every day, he made incremental improvements that paid off in the long run. This chapter teaches us that small and steady progress is key. It's better to keep going slowly than to quit because progress compounds over time. The law of least effort. The law of least effort is all about making habits as easy as possible. Clear explains that humans tend to follow the path of least resistance. If something is difficult, we are less likely to stick with it. So to make a habit stick, it's important to remove as much friction as possible. Clear provides examples of how people often give up on their habits because they are too difficult or inconvenient. For instance, if you want to read more, it's better to keep a book on your nightstand ready to be picked up than to hide it in a drawer. Making the habit as easy as possible increases the chances of success. He also introduces the concept of environment design, which is the idea that you should shape your surroundings to make good habits easy and bad habits harder. For example, if you want to eat healthier, you should keep fruits and vegetables in sight while hiding unhealthy snacks in the back of your pantry. How to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. One of the most effective strategies for building new habits is the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The idea is that by starting with a very small version of the habit, you remove the resistance to beginning. For example, if you want to exercise more, the goal for the first day isn't to run a full 5K. It's to put on your workout clothes. If you want to read more, the first step might just be to open your book and read 1 page. By starting with something that's incredibly small and easy, you reduce the chances of procrastination. The key here is starting, not perfection. Once you begin, the habit becomes easier and you're more likely to continue with it. How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Clear explores how you can design your environment to make your good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. He discusses commitment devices, which are techniques that lock you into a good behavior or prevent you from falling bad into a bad habit. For example, if you want to avoid spending too much time on your phone, you could use an app that limits your screen time. If you want to eat healthier, you might schedule meals with friends or family, ensuring you have social accountability. By making it difficult or impossible to engage in bad habits, you make your good habits the default option. Clear uses the example of an individual who wants to stop drinking alcohol. They lock their drinks in a drawer during social events to avoid temptation. By setting up their environment to support their goals, the good behavior becomes easier and almost automatic. The cardinal rule of behavior change. The cardinal rule of behavior change is simple. What is rewarded is repeated, and what is punished is avoided. Clear explains that in order for a habit to stick, it needs to feel rewarding. If there is no immediate reward for a new behavior, it's hard for it to become a habit. This principle works both ways. If a habit is linked with positive feelings such as enjoyment or accomplishment, it is more likely to be repeated. Conversely, if you link a bad habit with a negative consequence, you're more likely to avoid it in the future. Clear illustrates this idea with the example of smoking. If smoking is linked to the pleasure of relaxation, it becomes more reinforcing. But if you associate smoking with the feeling of out of breath or the smell of cigarettes, it becomes a habit you may try to avoid. The importance of family and friends in shaping your habits. In this chapter, Clear emphasizes that social environment plays a huge role in shaping your habits. Our habits are often influenced by the people around us, whether it's family, friends, or colleagues. For example, if your friends are all regular exercisers, you're more likely to exercise too. If your social circle has habits of eating unhealthy foods or being inactive, you may be more likely to adopt those behaviors. Clear suggests being intentional about the groups you associate with. Surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you want to adopt makes it easier for you to build those habits. He calls this the concept of social norms, the habits and behaviors that are considered acceptable within a group. By finding a group that encourages the habits you want to build, you increase your chances of success. How to review your habits and make them stick. One important practice for habit formation is habit reflection. Clear recommends doing a regular review of your habits to see which ones are working and which aren't. This review should be based on measurable results so you can track your progress. If a habit isn't yielding the results you want, you can adjust it accordingly. He provides the example of a person trying to improve their fitness by running. If they notice their performance isn't improving, they might adjust their routine, perhaps by running at different times or varying their workouts. The goal is to continuously fine-tune your habits based on your reflections. Habit tracking is a great tool for this. By visually tracking your habits using a habit tracker, you can stay motivated and you can spot patterns of behavior that either support or hinder your progress. The truth about talent, when genes matter and when they don't. Clear explores the relationship between genes and habits. He explains that while our natural talents or abilities may play a role in the behavior we're able to adopt, everyone has the ability to improve. The key is deliberate practice, focused, effortful practice in a specific area. He talks about how people often mistakenly believe that talent is the determining factor for success. While some people may have natural advantages, success is ultimately about continuous improvement through practice. The message here is that talent is overrated. Habits and systems are more important for long-term success. The Gold Rule: how to stay motivated in life and work. The Gold Rule is all about finding the right level of challenge. The idea is that you'll stay motivated when you're working on tasks that are just challenging enough. Not too hard, not too easy. If the task is too difficult, it becomes frustrating. If it is too easy, you get bored. Clear explains that brain is naturally drawn to activities that are at the right level of challenge, which is why it's important to adjust the difficulty of your habits as you improve. By increasing the difficulty of your goals gradually, you maintain motivation and continue improving. The downside of good habits. Clear closes the book by talking about the downside of good habits. While it's great to have habits in place, the automatic nature of habits can sometimes cause you to stop questioning them. Over time, you might stop making adjustments to your habits, which can hinder your long-term growth. Clear suggests that habit refinement is important for continued progress. While you want to constantly overhaul your habits, it's important to evaluate them to ensure you're still progressing and growing. This way, your habits continue to challenge you and help you reach your full potential. To wrap things up, Atomic Habits is not just about building habits. It's about creating systems in your life that support the person you want to become. James Clear's ideas have had such a huge impact on me, and I hope these insights can help you too. Remember, it's the small habits that lead to big changes over time. If you've read the book or tried any of these strategies, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Drop me a comment below and say which habits you're working on right now. Please give this video a thumbs up, share it with all your friends, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.